What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Billy Collins.
MATJ.
And this is Magician.
And the Jock.
Welcome back, Mr. Josh Bell.
Jay Holiday in the building.
Magician and the Josh. I'm about to be out of a job. What's up, dude?
What's up?
Man, nice shirt.
Thank you.
You should get one just like it.
It's tailored. Which one rolled over?
It's tailored to somebody. But no, man, appreciate you coming back. We've been you are to date our most popular episode.
Yeah.
Wow. Honored. And that's why I'm back, to have a good time and maybe see if we can help somebody. And then, of course, push the goal a little bit further.
Hey, man.
That's right. Move the flag.
Move the flag.
How has your life changed since you came on the show? In all seriousness, no. Was there things that came out of it that were surprising?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, some random people said they saw my podcast, and a couple people said they really appreciate that I opened up and told my story, and put it in perspective for some other people. Hopefully, it inspired some people, and people kind of told me they respect me a little bit more because they see the image of me doing my stuff, but they didn't ever see before if they didn't know me.
Right.
And then I just think it was, for me, it was like just a self-confidence booster on top of already what I'm doing, which is scary.
And you suffer with confidence.
I know.
Yeah, he has a
Wait a minute, let me shrink.
It's just like,
your helmet in the NFL could be as large as Matt Dodge's.
There's only one of those.
if I cut this comb over, maybe.
Lord Helmet Head.
Oh, man, shaped like a Pez dispenser. But no, on that vein, man, I know we were inspired. That's one reason we love doing this show.
Yeah, is to hear stories of people and to really showcase where they come from, where they're going.
And for me too, it was, I almost forget my story too. And I think a lot of people forget their own story until you verbally speak it. Because then I actually did some self-reflection. I listened to the whole show, even though I knew what was going on. But I think that kind of, it's pushing me to a new level right now, and I'm going to ride that momentum until today. We got new momentum. We got some new stuff. And so we're here to reach out to somebody who needs help.
Yeah, man. So I think, Josh, obviously, as you've accomplished a lot on your own, small town, big sounds, one of the biggest sounds.
The big sound.
Beeping that horn at Parker Honda. But,
how many months now?
42. We're celebrating 42. Took the weekend off.
He's officially over the hill.
Wait a minute.
Jackie Robinson.
Is that right or no? Okay. Anyways, it's 42, everybody.
You're going to get shot with your gang sign.
Yeah. But, you're very inspiring, but you also have thought about it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You weren't born on third base, thought you hit a triple.
Right.
Everything that you've gotten, like most successful people, we started from somewhere. Obviously, there's preferable places to start from. Like me, genetically, it's just such an advantage. But,
gosh.
But no, there's a lot of people that can relate with your before picture.
Right.
And they're just now probably curious, all right, how do I get this after picture? Like
the before picture is almost more important to people than the after. Because if you're only focused on the after, you're not even going to try to go A to B to Z at the end if they're looking at Z.
Yeah.
So I think that is true. A lot of people. I think what's nice on this show, small town, big noises, but we're all starting.
Big sound, man. Come on, it rhymes.
What would I say? Noise?
Yeah.
We're making noise.
Small boys, big noise. Oh, no, that's wrong.
Damn it.
It's late now.
You should take that and edit out with Morgan Freeman's voice.
But
anyways, it's kind of like the humble beginnings, and I think you can relate more to people starting, where you're at versus kind of.
Add some credibility to this.
Exactly.
Story.
Yeah, it ain't like implanted in, here I am. Just to do this show or something like that. So I think that's important to the general public.
And I think I like having successful people on just for those that are wanting to strive to get that success.
Right.
That it can be created and can be achieved in a small town.
Right. I think it's easier. Honestly, I think it's easier in a small town, building that network. Your network is your net worth. And that's was one reason I started at the Honda store is before I even knew I would be great at selling cars and everything that followed, I was like, well, I can build up enough contacts there that I can farm my contacts for either selling cars or next journey or something along that. So I weren't anticipating at that point ultra Josh Bell go mode 42 months. It was more of like, hey, let's just start with the basics. Let's master the basics, and then let's do the next step. Then the next step, then the next step. And then now I'm sitting here going, damn, people want me.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, and that's true, because I think a lot of
Wish
people.
some of them were girls.
252-342-9417.
For a date or card, whatever you want, your choice.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people want to get up and run the marathon without actually doing the work to get to the marathon status.
Me.
And I think you have to crawl before you go ahead and fully sprint.
Right.
You know, we get a lot of people that ask that want to be on our podcast, and we're not disrespectful to people being on here, but you know,
Boring.
we're just not going to pull people in just because you want to be on. You have to have some sort
type
of
of
substance.
content.
Yeah.
Well, I think the crawl's the hardest. Making that initial. I think that's the thing with people nowadays is they forget how momentum works, and you roll that ball uphill, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you're at the very top, and at the top all it takes is a little, and then it's downhill.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, I think just starting the snowball is the hardest thing.
Well, when you start that snowball, when you're pushing that rock up the hill,
Right.
it's building your character,
Right.
It's building your credibility that you've achieved something.
Right.
You're putting your dues too.
Yeah. Got to put in the dues.
So I think we talked earlier today about some things we wanted to discuss on the show, and this is really for someone who maybe like a younger Josh, someone that has potential.
Not sure where they want to go. Not
Yeah.
sure the angle. I think this can go. Yeah, for anybody.
Because you've had ambition for a long time. You just never really knew how it was going to manifest.
Right. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people like that, and they kind of get discouraged in the workforce or their life with everything going on as far as COVID, media, their friend group, or outside noise, as we talked about it in our old podcast. So I think it's going to be for anybody that wants to work on themselves and work on that projection. So, I mean, that's big for me. I'm always a big projection. And you know how it starts? It starts real small. And then it ends up, the angles, it starts off at 1, and then it works its way. What's that, a acute
That's a cute little angle.
I saved this. This is my best stuff today.
Less than 90 degree. Man. Talk about best video to worst video.
Yeah, here we go.
But no, you said...
Like our YouTube shorts.
Seriously, man. No, you said something on the phone, creating separation. I was like, that's interesting. What do you mean by that? So can you talk to people about how you look at setting goals? We hear setting goals, and we could set a monetary goal. Or
Right.
we could set, we want this house. A lot of times the problem with that is it creates an immediate lack right now.
Right.
You're suddenly, I'm not as happy with my house. I think there's a difference between being content and being complacent. Being content, it's like, hey, I'm happy with what I got. That doesn't mean I don't want more. But you had a way of explaining how you create separation and who you're actually competing with and creating separation with.
Right. I think a big thing in today, like I said, with social media and stuff, you feel like you have to compete with Drake. And I have to compete with, just all these superstars. And in reality, you don't have to compete with them or your neighbor or anybody, even in your workforce. If you're in a competitive workforce, you need to be competing with yourself. So for me, my first year, I'll never forget this. They put this, we do a projection every year, how many cars you're going to sell. If you hit it, you get a bonus. So my first year, I put down, I want to sell 15 cars a month, which is 180 cars. And the manager's like, oh, that's stupid. You're not going to hit this bonus, signs off on it. Right? And needless to say, I didn't hit that number. And everyone told me that was stupid for you to even, aim that high. But looking back at it...
Because they're like, oh, your heart's broken. You didn't reach your goal.
You're going to be so disappointed.
Exactly. You're going to be so disappointed. Well, first of all, I was a little disappointed when I figured out there was a monetary value. But the other guys were putting, very easy goals. Right? And this is what started the separation off the gate. My first year, I didn't hit that number. I think I hit 100 and mid-40s, 12 or 13 a month. But that was second place in the dealership.
Samsonite. I was way off.
Way off, yeah. But then I was like, well, man, this is a great line for me to start competing against myself. And I was like, well, if I can do that 1 year, next year, and then I'm looking back at that first year, and that little bit of disappointment or failure was the best thing that ever happened to me.
How did you come up with 15 a month?
A feel-good number. Just want to be badass. I just wanted to be a bat because like I went in there and I was like, somebody was selling 180, 200 cars. I was like, my first year I want to be close to him, just to prove a damn point. And obviously, we weren't nowhere near. But it was like to me,
but still,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And like, but what if I'd have what if I'd have listened to them and put down 12 a month, 140? Do you think I'd have hit the 140?
Right.
No, it would have been 100.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So I think we were talking about this earlier. When kids are born and they're toddlers and they're just getting, learning, and you ask them what they want to be in life, they'll say astronauts, they'll say firefighters, doctors, dentists, all these like
high-end
stuff. And the reason and you know why that stops? Someone told them they can't, and they listened. Or someone pushed them to be something they didn't want to be, which is unfortunate on both ends. But I think that's a big thing too. You get lost so quickly in the noise. Like, what if I'd be like, oh no, give me that sheet back.
Right.
Let me do this number. Let me do 10 a month. I mean, I might not even be where I am today because that was like, that one failure in my eye was a failure, was like an ultimate success year one.
Which shows failure is not fatal.
No.
Grant Cardone talks about in the 10X rule. Basically 10X whatever your current goals are, because you're going to come up short.
Right.
Typically on any goal you set, which one would you rather come up short on? And Les Brown talks about people, they don't fail because they set goals too high and not hit them. They fail because they set goals too low and they do hit them.
Right.
Before my senior year in college, I had started reading around like Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar and setting goals, and I set some goals for that season: be All-American, get drafted.
High goals.
Yeah, but I mean, they were goals they stretched me, but they weren't like a rush for 100 yards a game, like something stupid. That's just your mind's not even going to progress that.
Could you imagine if Matt ran for 100 yards?
That'd be scary.
He's a punter.
That one long leg of his legs are a little off. They don't even want to say that, but there's one longer than the other.
It's a hamstring issue.
Yeah.
But no, I set a goal to average 46 yards per punt.
Nice.
For whatever reason, I just anchored that in my mind. At the end of that year, I was 45.9.
Boom.
I found that I have to get that notebook, but I found it was like under my bed. My mom had saved it on like a yellow pad. Every single goal I wrote down, I hit it.
Right.
And that's where you get to the point where you're like, shit, I should have said 50 yards a punt.
Yeah.
There's just something weird about writing it down, anchoring in your mind, because then it kicks into that law of expectation. Hey, I put 15 a month out there. Now somebody signed off on it. If I do 3 a month, I'm really going to look like a jerk.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we are strangled by our mind's perception of ourselves.
Absolutely.
So we were like, oh, I can't do this.
Right.
That's too much.
Yeah.
But why not, like we talked before, like I said, set a goal extremely high. And even if you don't hit it, look what you've achieved.
Well, I think that goes into, unfortunately, today's, it's acceptable to have a negative tone. I tell this story, I might have said before, but when I was at work, there was this guy. He works in the service department. He's been there a while. I mean, he's doing his thing. But I said to him, he was coming up getting a car, and I said, hey, do good things happen to you? Point blank. I mean, I don't even know where it came from. I just point blanked him. He said they're supposed to, but they never do. Right? And this is the man covered in grease. Nothing wrong with that, but I mean, he's physically laboring for everything. And here I am creating it with a tie, shirt, no grease. So I think, too, that mental mindset of flipping the switch of good things are supposed to happen to you. I can create good things. I won't let negativity in. It's like that quote with the boats. Boats don't sink because of the water around them. It could be rough as crap outside. Not going to sink them, but the minute they get that water in there.
All that negativity.
Right, and I think that's where I think that's a big problem. Young entrepreneurs or salespeople or anybody,
especially those starting out that don't have the results to back.
That's
it
what
up.
I'm saying. Yeah, like that.
Which we talk about faking it till you make it.
Right.
That's when you're at your most critical. Because
you have to be the most protected. Because if you got a dream, you have to protect it. And I think that's a big thing too. Is people don't even realize they're sabotaging themselves. They talk about the only luck I have is bad luck, or I'll never find my purpose. I don't know what I'm even doing. Have you ever asked somebody how's this, and they go, well, this is where I'm working now, but I have no clue what I'm doing.
Right.
All you had to say is this is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah,
you didn't have
to go
you didn't
into
have to
detail
put yourself
of how bad
down. And so I think that's a big thing nowadays. And I shared with you guys one of my big pet peeves. This sounds crazy, but one of my pet peeves is when somebody comes up and says, "I'm proud of you." And like that hits me because I'm not doing nothing special. I mean, I wake up, I go to work, I give it my best every day to my customers and to myself. I treat myself like a business too. I give myself my best and my friends and family. And at the end of the day, the results are going to be what the results are. There's nothing special about that. And when people say that, I know what they mean, but to me, it's like, oh, we didn't expect you to be doing this.
Yeah. I think when you hit it when you said be the best of that day, or
right,
because I think everybody wants the golden ring. Everybody wants it.
Yeah.
But not everyone's willing to go out and be the best that they can be and try to seize the moment of every day.
One day. If you did it one day.
It's a compound effect.
And just like, I talked about it earlier. It's like, I don't care if I go to work and I make $1,000 a day or $10 a day that day.
Still positive.
Of course, I want to make the $1,000.
You should care. That's a big gap.
Well, of course, I want to make the $1,000. But if
strong drinks.
Look what I got, boys and girls. Daddy's got your medicine.
$100. I ordered a Jack and Coke. What the hell?
Look, but that's a great Jack and Coke.
End of the month.
But that $10 is better than zero.
Right.
Always look at the positive and be the best that you can at your project. I don't care if you're the guy on the back of a garbage truck. Be the best damn garbage man there.
Right. Well, I think, and we were talking about this earlier, and I think this is going to be big on this video, is creating separation. Mm-hmm. And I think...
Yeah, talk about that.
So I think if I looked at myself today, if I was new to whatever I was starting in, I would be worried about my separation. And I'm not talking about separating myself between coworkers, competition, anybody. I'm talking about separation between myself now and my next year or my tomorrow. So this is the big thing. It's one day at a time. And that's why I think a lot of people get this confused, is there's some big formula between A and Z, but literally you just got to hit all the letters in between.
It's usually dressed up as hard work.
Exactly. So when I look at stuff, like I said, my 1 year, I didn't hit the goal that I reached, but I said, all right, well, my next year, I think I added another 20% to my book of business. Then I looked at my separation between year 1, year 2, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, now working on year 7. And it was only a little bit each year, but now look at it. You're sitting there going, man, you're almost 3 times what you were starting with. So I think that's where the big thing is. But a lot of people get lost in the process because of, 1, how they speak, 2, who they hang out with, and who they listen to instead of themselves. So I think that's a big thing. You gotta. I've spent some time working on my mental attitude and really perfecting how you speak, how you think. And I think this is very trained, but it's so easy to say, man, I'm in a slump, or, things just aren't going right. I mean, you can literally just talk yourself right into that rut or something like that. But imagine the other way, like, man, business is going, like if somebody asks me how car sales are going, I'm saying it's booming. It's automatic. Or somebody says to me, Josh, how are you doing today? It's in train. I say, fantastic. How about you? How many times have you asked somebody how they're doing today and then you regretted it instantly? Because they're bringing their baby mama drama, no gas having, just bought a pack of cigs, ain't got gas. Come on.
I don't know why I'm fat eating this ice cream.
Yeah.
Zig Ziglar said, I decided a long time ago that today was going to be a good day.
Absolutely. Either you run the day or the day runs you.
Boom.
So let me ask you, because you're obviously a winner.
Wow. Winners win.
Hey, man.
It's what we do.
It's not how much you bench. It's how much you look like you can bench.
That's right. You ain't got to bench press a Cadillac. Just got to look like you can.
Josh hit it when he said he didn't make it that first year. He didn't hit that goal.
Yeah.
Right? So some people will just shrivel up and die. Some people will be like Josh and say, okay, now it's a challenge. I'm going to beat that shit the next year.
Right.
How do you change that winner's mindset and losers? Can you change it?
So you're talking about like fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
So I think
absolutely.
A lot of times it can be external at first. Someone can pour into you. That, like you just said, if your parents are really negative or have a poverty mindset, it's really tough to get over that. I mean, there's a lot of people, their parents grew up through the Great Depression.
Right.
They're terrified of losing or whatever, and they're having to shake that. So I think part of it is being self-aware.
Right.
I set those goals punting. I didn't just pull them out of my ass. You know what I mean? I was honorable mention All-American my junior year. We all hit like a shift.
Right.
In our life. And I remember when my shift was for punting, it was before my senior year. I went into our special team coordinator's office to talk about the season. I was a rising senior. And he said, yeah, apparently you have a chance to play in the NFL. And I'm like, what? as soon as that came in, he poured that into me. I started seeing myself as an NFL player.
Right.
The getting drafted was just the payoff.
That was confirmation.
Yeah, that just like what you said. Like, hey, how could I not be successful? Because look at the stuff I'm doing.
Right.
It would be miraculous if you weren't doing anything and people were just showing up.
Well, I think
seeking you out. That's just not how it. We have to realize someone's not going to show up with a big check saying, "I won $10 million. You never have to work again." We all come to that realization at some point. What did they say at Westcard? If it is to be, it's up to me.
Yep.
Meaning you.
Yep.
I remember Gordy Patrick used to say it every day. I didn't really know what he meant, but so I think it's part external. And then internal too, but be careful who you listen to.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't take advice from someone that you don't want to aspire to be.
Right. I think a lot of people struggle because they say whatever career path they're working for somebody or starting their business. So I think a big step they miss on is they don't sell themselves. So like I'm not saying sell myself to sell something. I'm saying
Like
sell.
a prostitute?
Right. That wouldn't get a lot of hits. I mean, like sell Josh sells Josh, and we talked about this before. But I mean, Billy stepped out on a limb starting the show. You're sitting there selling yourself. I'm going to do this, and this. Here you are now. Look at you. You got hats.
March.
You got a quote that I'm involved in right here. Be great at what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
We got ex-pro, NFL.
Very expert.
Expo. He's been erased. I'm sorry, I'm going off a tangent here.
NFL not for long. Yeah.
But I think that's the thing too, is you don't sell. That was one thing I did first, and I got very fortunate at my old job selling windows, doors, gutters. Is my old boss trained me, you have to drink the Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you become successful. We're gonna go knock on doors in the middle of this neighborhood. Nobody knows we're coming. Might be raining. And you're going to be against all odds. Bands of brothers, we're going to sell some windows, gutters, doors, siding. And we're going to make some cash. And then we're going to ride out and listen to 106.5 rock and roll station. Right? So I think that rock style mentality, NFL player, magician, podcast host, car salesman.
You got to have an edge.
You got to have an edge. And I think that's the thing is I've sold myself that, hey, Josh Bell, it don't matter if we have no cars, COVID's here. It doesn't matter. There's going to be a way. I don't care what I got to do.
Right.
So I think that's a lot of people skip on selling themselves that they're going to be successful or they're going to do what it takes, and they just start on step 2. Like, hey, let me start this business. I'm not 100% that I can do it, but I mean, could you imagine that's your mindset?
Right.
Starting off, I'm not 100% that. Hey.
Yeah.
And I know you might not have nobody in your corner rooting for you, but that's where you got to be.
Yeah.
You got to start with that one person, and then next thing you know, it's like people text me if I haven't posted my Salesman of the Month thing. Somebody asks, "Is it over?" And I'm
Did you break the
buzzers
streak?
are
right, and I'm like, first of all, quit your lip. That don't happen with me.
Can't stop a train, baby.
Yeah, like come on, you could literally some of the postage you can turn the calendar. It's like clockwork. What does Nelly say? Over and over again.
It's getting hot in here. Over and over again. No, it's true. Your expectation, because eventually now it's your expectation. Like,
Right.
You're not surprised.
No. So and we were talking about this earlier. I think this goes with the separation. So Billy said earlier, when he gets a goal, that's now the baseline. So that's where I want to start now. So next year, I'm going to have to do, I don't know, I might have to do something crazy. So I think that's the thing too. It's the separation of yourself from last year. Hit a goal, move it further.
It's always evolving.
It's always evolving.
Your competition is, if this is you today, your competition was you last year.
Right.
And your hero is you next year.
Right.
And that's a constant, it builds that staircase. What does Matthew McConaughey say?
My hero is always 10 years away.
Is himself 10 years away. And I think a lot of people hear that and they're like, man, that's cocky or that's arrogant. One thing I learned in the NFL, I came in and I was a people pleaser. I was going to do whatever the coaches wanted me to do. I changed everything. They're the pros. They're the ones. And it messed me up. And then I was around Lawrence Tynes, who was, kicked
Hall of Fame. Is he Hall of Fame?
He should be, at least for the Giants. I mean, he kicked him into 2 Super Bowls. And the first time I was around him, I'm like, that's the most cocky son of a bitch I've ever been around.
Right.
But he was so, like, they couldn't tell. And I remember we left the meeting room. He's like, dude, don't listen to him. He's never kicked a ball in his entire life. F him. You know what to do.
So basically saying, look, you're the expert. Act like it.
Yeah, but how you see yourself, how you carry yourself. The difference between my senior year in college, I saw myself as an NFL player. I was a senior. I was All-American. To now I'm a rookie, and now I have to earn it. Like, if I would have kept, we talked about that.
If you'd have kept that edge.
Yeah, it's like how a beta ruined my marriage. We talked about a lot of guys get married, and they think, okay, I need to now behave like the married guy. And
instead of the guy that...
They completely change from the guy who the chick said yes to. And they wonder why, like, things aren't working out, you know. You mentioned a Facebook post. Someone posted a question, weeded through all the cesspool that is social media. But
my few minutes of fame in the morning, you know, I get up, scroll through. Actually, my favorite thing, I tell you one of my favorite things on Facebook is I check my memories. So this is actually going off my separation. So it was 2 years ago, Salesman of the Month, number 18. Here we are on 42. Before that, it was like, man, how are we going to get this math homework done? You know, 10 years worth of building, you know, so it's crazy. That's actually a good way to kind of see where you've gone through.
Yeah.
But it's what Matt calls dropping the buoys.
Yeah, dropping a buoy.
Just, a little crumb trail.
That's it, man.
But no, I saw on Facebook today, and this actually kind of hit home a little bit.
Yeah, it stopped me. Tracks, yeah.
And this girl posted it. She said, if I was to ask you about all the things you love, how long would it take before you said yourself? I mean, think about that. I mean, literally, and like for someone that loves themselves, me, I would have like named off like 100 things before I even said, I love Josh Bell.
Don't want to sound cocky or I don't want to sound arrogant.
But I mean, that should be the first. I mean, literally, you're living your life. Your life is your picture. You know, you're an artist and you're painting your scene. You're going to leave it.
You're the star of it.
You're the star of it. And I feel like people want you. They make it seem nowadays like it's not. It's like out of the ordinary or abstract for you to be successful or to be a noise.
It's like false humility, yeah.
Right, be a noise in the community. And they want you to like follow this 9-to-5 job. They want you to get stuck in that rut because that's where 70% of the people lie. But you're not one of them. You're over there trying to push through to the 30%. But then it's like all who you hang out with. And, some of my friends, we don't talk,
Well, misery loves company.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I think that's where they get you. They find that one little bit of weakness, and they want to pry you down. They're like, Josh, you must work so many hours. You must. I mean, it's honest how they want to discredit you.
They're trying to make their pillows softer for why they're not.
Right.
You know, like, that person's in really good shape. Yeah, he probably
genetics
just eats chicken, and he's probably miserable all the time. Man,
he's not happy,
and he's miserable eating a cheeseburger.
Right.
So
exactly.
I read somewhere Marcus Aurelius. I'm a big. I study the Stoics, and he said it never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own.
Yes,
and it's so true.
Oh, that's 100% true.
That's why social media is as toxic as it is. It's like we'll pick the 96th out of 2,000 pictures you took, the perfect angle because I care about your opinion more, but reality, and we tend to diminish or devalue ourselves. Billy's just amazing. I could never do that. Just that talk.
And so I think that's why you got to really work on your vocabulary and how you sell yourself.
You always say, "I get to work."
I get to work, and I've had to train this because my friends on Saturday, they're going out, they're on the boat, they're having a good time, and there's times I join them, and when I join them, we do it. But I mean, a lot of times I'll be at work, and I make sure I tell myself I get to go to work, or I think that's a big thing too. Is you're selling yourself on what makes in your process. Because I mean, obviously, there's gonna be times it's not pleasurable, it sucks, you're in the grind. But you got to be able to like make the best of the grind, or else you're never going to be able to enjoy the reward.
Embrace the grind.
Embrace it. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, you get that. To me, like I said before, the ultimate feeling for me is the ball going uphill, and then I'm sitting there watching 800 feet, 600 feet, 400 feet, 200 feet, boom, and then now it's all downhill, and everybody's seeing me riding on the sled laughing, having a good time, but they forgot about the uphill battle. And
that's what John Maxwell said. People see him, it's like, I want to do what you do. He's like, okay, I understand that, but do you want to did what I did?
Right.
That's where it's the 10-year overnight success. And I mean, if you do that long enough, because we talked before the show, you kind of developed your work ethic through sports starting out.
Right.
And you had the goal of being
a basketball player.
The first white LeBron James.
He's close.
Right. And,
you had a passion for basketball. Tell that story.
I loved basketball. I used to run to the gym, work out, play basketball, run home. This would be from like 5 till 10.
Uphill both ways.
Both hill. I mean, and
the snow.
I loved it. I mean, we would compete. I would train. I mean, I was getting hooked up with Scotty. And then one day, I mean, for an average Joe Sports Center basketball player, I was great. I mean, it was what I could do. But then one day I walked past the mirror, and I'm wearing the square shoes you put over your shoes to work on your jumping.
Make your calves bigger.
Yeah. And I'm like Nike geared up. I mean, everything. And then I look in the mirror, and I'm like, first of all, you're good looking, Josh. I started with that. But then I realized, I said, Josh, you're still 5'11" on a good day with your shoes. You're still slow. You have a good shot, but I mean, you just can't guard nobody 6'4". But what I did is I took that same training,
that work ethic
that you develop, and I think that's where that's why I think sports are so important, or finding that competitism and competing with yourself now, and that's where I turned it to the workforce. Started working on whatever, one job. One thing before I got into car sales, I, did home improvement sales. But I'll never forget, I'm not exaggerating, I put out probably a couple hundred applications.
Yeah, because I asked you that, like, how'd you get into sales?
Yeah, I literally put in as many applications as I could.
That's how most people get into sales. Like, we're the only one that called me back.
Right. I mean, I was applying for everything. Click, 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 click. I'd fudge my resume depending on the job, sending it out, and then the guy called me. He's like, I'll start you at $10 an hour plus bonuses. I said, plus bonuses? He said, yeah, it's going to be a commission base. I said, I'll see you tomorrow.
But you had me sold at $10 an hour.
Right. And that's how it kind of started, the incentive of, all right, this is what I guaranteed. This is going to be my incentive. How do we make the incentives? And then he kind of trained me on the no negativity. That was a big thing. Because we were knocking on doors, and it would be, I mean, I wouldn't want to do business with you. I don't care what it is. I mean, I just don't want to have that weight. I mean, if I'm buying something, I'll give you my weight. But if you're selling something, I don't want no weight. I want you to take my weight.
Right.
So I think that's a big,
it's basketball. but so what's interesting with basketball, you had a passion for it, but you were working really hard to be great at what you weren't good at.
Right.
So you'll go from bad to not as
mediocre.
Bad,
right?
But you develop that work ethic to then be great at what you're good at.
Right.
You tie that work ethic into, it's like talent and hard work. It's unstoppable. You tied that hard work now into something that, man, this is my, no one could teach Shaq to be 7 foot. If he just worked hard on the basketball court, he'll be unstoppable.
Right.
That was your new arena, and it's like, holy hell, I've got some natural ability in this. You combine that with a work ethic, and it's crazy.
It's the thing of pushing through these failures. And I don't even look at them as failures. To other people, they're failures.
No failure, just feedback.
Right. But I mean, like in the big scheme of things, I failed at basketball. I failed at selling home improvement. I failed my first year selling cars. I mean, in my mind, I failed, but and the reality was it wasn't. It's hard to explain, but I guess you're your biggest fan, but you're also your biggest critic. So, but the thing is being able to still harness all those, the lesson, and being able to guide that. So the spinoff on basketball is I spent 2 years after that coaching 11 and 12-year-olds. One of them turned out to be a college player. A couple of them went to college for sports. Most of them that I see give me a good feedback on how they're glad I helped guide them in their life.
Oh, like a father figure, yeah.
Right, because you got some stuff they're dealing with on. We were riding and picking them up so they can make it to the game.
And you're sitting there looking at them like, God, if I had just an ounce of your natural ability.
Right. If you would just listen to me. You could
Just listen to me.
Just listen to me, because what I had to do the only reason it got done is not because of what you got. It was just the raw work ethic, the grind, working on the craft that was leading to nothing. But in the reality, I was sitting there thinking, so I think that's a problem too. Someone goes down a path, they hit that roadblock, and they're like, man, this was all for nothing. Wah, wah, wah. And then they're sitting there going, well, I gave it everything, and then they're done. Man, you got 60 or 70 years left to live. Are you telling me you're done at 20 or 25 or 30? I don't think there's any time. You're never too old to dream a new dream. So I think that's the big thing, is you get caught in that one roadblock, and you're not even absorbing all the good. Like if for some reason, I don't know, it probably never happened. But if I got fired from Parker Honda, not gonna happen. I would say, you know what, I got all this. Looking back at it now, it'd be a failure to some people, but I'd be like, man, I got all these contacts, I got all these skills, I got all these references.
You'd probably be excited
experiences,
too.
yeah.
I mean,
because people forget that we hit a roadblock, but if you look back at the path that you were on, it's almost like a tree branch, because it goes in different ways.
Right.
So different opportunities for you to rise above that.
Right. And
just because you hit that roadblock doesn't mean you can either go over it, through it, or around it.
So that's what gets back to that how important this mental attitude is. So there's a story of two salesmen, and they go to Africa selling shoes. All right, they go to Africa, and this is like high-end shoes, right? So two salesmen go. One salesman goes up there. I mean, these are like, say, $60 shoes. So in Africa, that's a lot of money. One guy, he calls back to headquarters. He's defeated. Oh, boss man, he says, how are we going to sell shoes when no one here wears shoes? That's not a thing here.
That's a good question too.
Right. The other guy calls back. The other salesman, he says, we're going to need triple the inventory, and we're going to need a new warehouser down here because everyone here needs shoes. Same problem.
Wow.
Society today wants you to say, oh man, no one has shoes. They don't buy shoes, because they want to keep you. They want to keep you where it's close to them. So that's why I say I think it's important who's on your team. Like you want your teammates, whoever you've positioned in your life, and even if it's just yourself, pushing yourself. Hey, let's shoot the extra little bit here and see what happens. Because if you're going to double down on anybody, it might as well be yourself. So I think that's a big thing nowadays, is you got to learn where you're at mentally and figure out, if I was starting, I would start on myself, selling myself. How can I do this? What have I done?
I think that goes back to the whole fake it before you make it mentality. And Matt, you hit on something when you were talking about you saw yourself now as a pro football player when you got that inkling of someone saying, hey, you got potential to go.
Oh, your chest blew up, didn't it?
Well, it blew up, but I think it was almost like now I got to walk the walk.
Yeah.
And also, I got that opinion from someone whose opinion that I valued.
Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't.
He was on your team.
His son actually went to the NFL, has coached a lot of guys in the NFL. There's some credibility to his opinion.
But I think I want to be rich, like very well off. That's my goal. So with that mindset in my head, now I'm starting. Not that I didn't always dress good. Now I'm starting to dress better. I'm walking taller. Yeah. I'm using better vocabulary. I'm holding myself to a higher standard because I am practicing to when I get to that point to be rich.
Right. Now, this is a throwback. I don't even know if you remember this, Matt. When I would come over and hang out with Chris, and y'all were renting that house.
Young Jock.
When y'all had that house, and I was just moved back with my parents, so they were helping me, but I can't hang out at my parents' house. So I was over at their house 24/7, and I came in with my Salvation Army gear, shirt, whatever. And Matt looked at me and said, "Josh, you have to get better socks." I was like, "Fucking better socks."
I think I said, "Man, get your sock game up."
Yeah,
right?
like better socks. Like, what does that have to do with anything? Then eventually it hit me. Now I match my socks to my outfit. But today, boys and girls,
bro, your sock game.
That's NBA. That's NBA. I still got it, boys. Good. I'm just telling you, if I was like 6 inches taller, Steph, Bell.
Dude, no, for sure.
Yeah,
but I remember saying that.
Right, and that kind of leads up into that fake it till you make it. So to me, there's no excuse not to be the best dressed man in the workforce. So, and Preston always told my old GM, he said, dress for the job you want, not for the job you have.
Yeah.
So in the summertime, everyone's wearing polos. I'm still wearing my tie. Wintertime, I'm wearing a suit.
Yeah.
But also, too, people treat you better
Well, it's all, yeah, look good, play good.
Right.
You know, that's kind of a sport.
Selling yourself.
You know, that's your uniform. When that's on, you know,
You're
your
on.
clothes can,
Right.
you can take the same person, have them wear gym shorts and a whatever and go out, and then the next time have them wear clothes that fit them, tailored, just take a little bit, there's a little different, and people will hold you to a different level. You know what I mean? Yes, sir, right this way. Like,
Right.
it's instantaneous.
Right.
And it's the white shirt mentality. I can wear a dress. My old job, I could wear a button-up shirt and tie every day.
Right.
Every day, and I did. But I put on a white shirt. They're like, "Why are you dressed up?"
Yeah.
I put on a white shirt.
What are you preaching, a sermon?
They're like,
So I think that's a big thing too. Once you've made it past getting your mental mindset right, then you got to start working on your gear. You know, whatever your tools of the trade are, whether it be how you dress, how you talk.
You'd much rather be overdressed than underdressed.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, people treat you. If I go to the gas station after a day of work, normally someone holds the door for me.
Yeah.
In reality, in the big scheme of things, I sell cars at Parker Honda, big whoop.
Right.
But in their eye, they're like, oh, man, this guy might be a banker. He might be, who knows who this guy is.
Police.
Yeah, who knows? So I think that's a big thing too. These little steps that don't seem like a lot, people are skipping. And to me,
it's the alphabet that you're talking
right,
about.
that's what I'm saying. And so I tell this to new salespeople all the time because somehow I get in charge of helping them, which is a big pain, but I love them to death. But anyways, you can do everything right and still get a no. Mm-hmm. So what makes you think you can do everything wrong and get a yes?
Right.
That's good.
I mean, plain
like
and
that.
simple. Think about this. I would say I'm a master at my craft now for 7 years. I can go up to a customer, do everything right. They love the car and everything, and they still not buy. That's just part of it.
Control the controllable. So,
Right.
I mean, that's why when I think setting goals, first of all, you say, here's what I want, but also here's what I'm willing to give up.
This is what I'm willing to give up. When we talk about success and defining success, which I think is a really broad topic and probably one of the hardest questions, if you point blank ask
Oh,
somebody.
people will get defensive over that.
Yeah, like
I
point-
might not have money, but my
Yeah.
kids love me. Or,
Yeah.
I make a mean meatloaf.
Yeah, it's very hard to judge success. My idea of success now is, all right, I spent 5 or 6 years developing Parker Honda success. Now I want to be able to do Josh Bell success, like health, fitness, family, friends, all that type of stuff too. So to me, that's a more challenge too. How do I keep this running and then add on top of it? So everyone's got 24 hours. So if I want to allocate 1 hour to the gym, the rest of my hours to work, a couple of hours for friends and family.
It's priorities, man.
Priorities, yeah.
Prioritizing,
And so, I think that's one thing you should have my priorities my first couple of years was what's going to make me some money, what's going to make me some financial freedom, what's going to allow me to do these things that I want to do, take 3 days off, whatever.
As Dave Ramsey said, be willing to do today what others won't, so tomorrow you can do what others can't.
Right.
Yeah.
And to me, if I'm willing to give up that amount of time, whether it be 2 years, 3 years, if you look at it, what is my payoff going to be? And I know if I'm going to give it 100%, it better be a good payoff. People don't realize that if you invest in something, even if it's yourself, that's why people retire. They invested in themselves for 60 years. Now I'm going to go blow it out for 30, and I can't even spend all the money I got.
Right.
So I think that's the big thing we forget is the long game. But the long game is developed through day in, day out fundamentals, whether it be clothes, attitude. Literally just one little extra bit compared to 1,000 people. If I was talking to somebody now needing a job, I would say this is the easiest time, not because of the
You
workforce.
have no fear of losing your job.
No.
Because it's like, this is transferable.
Right, and you got to look at your competition. The competition nowadays is the weakest it's ever been. Point blank.
It is wide open.
Point blank. If you can stand out a little bit, you will make an impact in whatever industry. But it's willing to put yourself out there past where everyone says this is a good line to be at, whatever they say it is at your profession, and willing to jump over that and figure out how to do it. Because once you make it over it, it's like, if I look at what the average car salesman does, not to toot my horn or anything, but I'm probably doing 2 to 3 times. The first X was the one I failed.
Right.
The first X, I failed. And then it's like, boom, boom, look.
But you failed at what was what the average car salesman would say was an unreasonable goal.
Right.
15 a month? Are you crazy?
Right.
You can't do that. Well, they're basically saying, I can't do that. Or
Right.
there's no way I could have done that in that first year.
Exactly.
And you're just saying, well, 15, it's a cool number. Let's
hit that.
You came up short.
Right.
But it's 12 a month. And it's like, that's where you have
still incredible.
that
Yeah.
natural, I do have some ability here.
Let's build.
And
now let's build.
And that's, you're creating your separation.
Right. Between year 1, year 2. And like I said, literally to me, it's not. Matt said something. He said, Josh, you're pretty disciplined. And when I look at myself, I'm a little AD. I'm all over the place. I do things spur of the moment. But when I actually kind of thought about myself, I am very routine person.
Well, if you look at the stuff you've achieved the most in,
right,
it's where you're usually most disciplined. When for punting a football, I was the most disciplined.
Right,
like, I was not sporadic with my practice.
No, so that's what I'm saying too. You can be sitting here grinding on this goal and still have ideas. There's nothing wrong with that. People just
we're so binary.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are like, well, all right, so I'm gonna be honest. There's no way I can be making $1 million selling cars in a year.
Is somebody making $1 million selling cars?
Maybe. I think it'd be pretty impossible. Or it'd be crazy.
Right.
I mean, you'd have to be the one. So I want to make $1 million.
Lambos.
Yeah. I want to make $1 million in a
In
year.
your current role,
right.
It would be tough.
Yeah. So
you're not being negative. You're just
being honest.
realistic. Yeah.
But I still want to make $1 million in 1 year. And I know Parker Honda might not be that exact vessel, but it's stepping up everything. It's lining things up for you. So I think that's the big thing. People are like, well, I know I can't work at McDonald's and be a millionaire. Well, you don't have to stay there. You can use that as your one.
Right.
You can bunny hop. So I think that's a big thing. People don't like the idea of bunny hopping. I always call it doubling up. I've doubled up in my life 3 times. Right. So
are we talking in the bedroom? Or?
Well, that's once.
That's what.
I know Grant Cardone talks about being 10 times rule or 100 times rule. I always look at the double up. So my first job selling corn, shrimp, watermelons on the side of the road. Well, Uncle Billy had one leg. Depending on who came, that depended on the price.
That's a country song.
Yeah, that's a country.
Good Lord.
But anyways, then I got, started selling windows and doors, and then I made my way into cars. Each time I've done that, I've doubled. So now I'm just sitting here going, well,
what's the next double?
What's the next double? But in the meantime, I'm not going to sit here and go, why not still give it 100% where I'm at and still be open-minded? So I think that's a big thing a lot of people get caught up in is like, well, I know this ain't going to hit my goal. Because I think it's awesome to create a big goal. I think that's the best thing you can ever do is create a unhittable goal.
Like a big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yeah, just get after it. So when I look at stuff, I look at the end goal. If that hat over there, Magic in the Jock, if I wanted to get that hat, I'm going to keep my eye on that prize, and naturally, I'll find the stepping stones. Reverse people are like, well, I can't get there. I'm just going to hit this thing, and then, I'm stuck. Or I'm not even going to take this jump because it's not going to get me to where I want.
That goal sounds great, but the first roadblock, it's like, I didn't really want that hat in the first place.
Exactly. So I think that's a big thing, too, is how you train. Like I said, you got to sell yourself.
And what you're kind of describing something that's talked about. It's definitely bastardized, but the law of attraction.
Which is real.
There is the kind of kooky, new age. I think people see it and they think, oh, this is just licensed to be lazy.
Right.
I just think about it and I can manifest. Someone's going to show up with that big check.
Big check, yeah.
Could that happen? Possibly, but
Ed
just
McMahon is dead.
Yeah.
Doing everything wrong and expecting a yes, I guess a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
Right.
But when did you first come into the law of attraction? How do you look at it? How do you use it to your advantage more than anything?
Like I said, it would be my job selling windows and doors. Like I said, I got really lucky with a mentor that, he believed that stuff. And he poured that into me, drinking the Kool-Aid. Here I am coming from the beach, flip-flops. I'm the first employee,
Uncle
and 1 year
Billy,
later,
1 leg.
yeah, and 1 year later, we're doing $1 million in sales. So that to me is like the eye opener. Is like, hey man, if you believe it, you can achieve it. And that sounds corny as hell, but it's real.
The book, The Secret, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think. So I've always said this, and this is like a quote. It's like if God lets you see it, and you believe it, you can achieve it. So first you have to see it. You have to see what you want to manifest to, and then you have to believe it. You got to sell yourself, and then you can work on selling others because you can't sell nobody else if you haven't sold yourself. And then you start making your process or your progress to that end goal. Next thing you know, you're sitting there going, Well, year 1 Josh and year 7 Josh, I didn't think I'd be year 7 Josh. And now I'm at year 7 Josh going, we need another double.
Oh, I talked about that. I would go out and punt, and I would think, I'm so much better today than I was this time last year. I don't even know how I had the confidence to go out and
But you were
punt
good last year.
Yeah, but
You were
it's
good last year.
I think that is truly the definition of success is you're progressing.
Right.
You know, with basketball, you were progressing, but
Wrong
the ceiling
vehicle.
was
I think
below.
wrong vehicle.
And I think it's more of a blind progression because
Yeah.
I think you really don't see it till you take the moment to look back.
Right.
Well, that's faith. I mean, faith is evidence of things unseen, and
Right.
you got to have faith and be so sold. Like, get a mystery novel or whatever, and go read the last chapter first to take that pressure off of where this is headed. Then
Right.
you can enjoy the process a lot more. So it's kind of beginning with the end in mind. You know, basketball, you were progressing. You went from bad to still bad, but
Yeah.
not as. Then
Good
you got
shoes.
into sales, and it was like you went from good to great.
Right.
And then so that's a big thing why we keep harping on be great at what you're good at. You know, take a step back, see what you're good at, and then go at that, because that's where you're going to get that astronomical,
Right.
that quantum leap in your
But
life.
good doesn't get it done. And
No.
that's the thing nowadays.
That's a good starting point.
Right. Good is what everyone else might have trained for, and you're starting. So if I was starting, I would want to be great.